Hi, it's Mary Lynn. I'm back creating an impact talk show, my talking newsletter. So I wanted to welcome you all back. If you want to tune in, by all means, tune in. I thought, I don't know, what was I doing? I was doing something about listening to somebody about kindness and influence. How do we influence people to take action, to be kind? How do we influence people to buy stuff from us or buy our products or services? How do we influence them to say yes? How do we influence people to say, yeah, I want to know more about you. Yes, I want to be more involved with the project you're doing. So how do we influence people? And that was sort of my kind of the talk that I wanted to talk about today is influence. You create an impact, and then how do you get your message out there? So I got to itch my nose. So how do the we create our product in our business or we create a movement? How do we get from creating it to influencing people to take action? Whether it's the movement of your business or movement of kindness. My big thing is about kindness. So how do I get people to influence? Hmm. I guess, when I first started in 2020 about kindness in the workplace. I started with doing conferences. That's how I got everybody to know more about kindness and what impact it made. And I had speakers talk about how it created an impact on their life and their business. And a lot of people that use kindness in their business use it because they know there's a benefit for them and their customer. So anyway, I was just, like I said, I was just kind of reading something, listening to something about how to start and uh, how do you influence people? And then I thought, hey, kindness. How do we influence people to be kind? So I don't know. What do we do? We could talk to people. We can educate them about it. We can reach out, do community outreach. There's lots of different things. It's like people who want to help the unhoused or the disenfranchised, I call them. They create packages of soap and washcloths, blah, 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 and they hand it out to people. Well, that's one thing, but do the people really want it? It's like you have to, when you look at creating a movement or your business, you have to think about, does your customer really want it? And do people really want kindness? I guess that's the question. I guess for me, I realized that when I first started my company is that um, I had a lot of crappy bosses, and I'm sure we've all had them one time or another, where we would just like to say, "Wow, you need some kindness education or civility or is rudeness working for you in your business." So anyway, so I was like I said, I was just sorry, my water dropped over. Um, so I was just thinking about that topic. So what would it influence you to be kinder? What would you need? What message would you need to hear to be kinder? What message would help you to embrace more kindness at work? What would that look like for you? So anyway, I thought I would just show a couple of videos of people who started movements. And this one guy, I've always kind of admired him, but I never knew who he was until I started looking on YouTube. And so I'm going to share my screen and play the video. Um, I haven't heard really his story of why he got it started, but I thought I would like to share it with you. So just hang on. Share my screen. Oh, there. There we go. So it's a YouTube show, but I think we'll all enjoy it. We'll all learn something from him.
In working class cafes in Naples, Italy, where you could buy a cup of coffee as a gesture of goodwill or a means of paying it forward. It can be a cup of warmth for a homeless person or a cup of hope for someone well-to-do, but perhaps a little bit down in their luck. We have over 20 volunteers and over 2,000 cafes in 34 different countries throughout the world actively promoting the movement. We have a following of over 300,000 people across all our social media platforms. We have an average weekly reach of 1.5 million people, and directly or indirectly, we've touched the lives of millions. For the first year and a half of running the movement, I really struggled. I struggled to put food on the table at home. I struggled to keep the light on in my house. But most of all, I struggled to be kind to myself. I'd listened to naysayers all my life who told me that I was something I wasn't, and it always stopped me following my dreams. About a year and a half into the movement, even though I was struggling, people were messaging us on a daily basis and emailing us saying that we were completely changing the way they were thinking, that they were going out into their communities and performing purposeful acts of kindness as a result of the message that we were portraying or putting out there. So about a year and a half into the movement, I was very lucky in that I met three amazing people, one of which is the fabulous Mark Wynn. Another is a gentleman by the name of Daljit Singh, who's my coach. And another is another amazing person by the name of Darren Robson, who's the founder of the Mo Foundation. The three of them set about changing my life by working with me and by trying to get me to believe in myself. They taught me that I could be kinder to myself and that it would have a profound impact in everything I did. They also taught me that I really could achieve anything I set my mind to. It really got me thinking, where the hell were they 15 years ago? As a result of this, and as a result of my entire journey, I've learned that there's three core ingredients to impactful kindness that if you incorporate into your life, it's going to have a massive impact in all and everything you do, but it also in people's lives or in other people who you may never even meet. The first of those is to inspire kindness. Last December, I was in London when I was in Borough Market and I found one of these little boards that says, "Before I die, I want to." I wrote on the board, "Before I die, I want to inspire kindness." I asked my friend Benji to know if he'd help me with a little bit of a social experiment, and he said yes. So I got a bit of cardboard and I wrote in the cardboard, "How far would you go to show someone you care? Food or a warm drink for the homeless?" Now, as people walk past, I asked them to know if they'd be so kind as to contribute money, fruit, or even just well wishes to what it was that we were doing. Well, loads of people stopped and said it was incredible, that we really were inspiring them, that it was great. Now, these people didn't have a clue what we were going to do with the money or the fruit. But every time somebody dropped down money, I went to the local fruit place and I kept buying more and more fruit. There was even one couple, actually, there was two couples actually asked me to know if I had a credit card machine. Now, unfortunately, I don't really carry that. I don't even have a credit card, to be honest with you. But it was quite interesting that people like really wanted to contribute in such a way, and they'd never have any idea what it was we were doing. So there was one gentleman who came up to us at the end and he asked, he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My name is John." I said, "I'm the founder of a social movement." I said, "I'm trying to inspire kindness." Told him a little bit about my own story and what it was we were trying to do. He listened intently. And after about 5 minutes, he turned to my friend Benji and he said, "I've no clue what he's saying with that Irish accent. But here's the price of 2 cups of coffee." Mark Twain says, "Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Kindness is the universal language of everybody. If you put two people from different cultures or different backgrounds into a room and ask them to connect, the most purposeful, simple way they can do it is through kindness." My next core ingredient is to share kindness. So I strongly believe that we need to share all of these good deeds. You'd probably get a better angle of me from over here if you'd like. But so the idea is to share kindness. And it really is, because you've no idea how far that ripple will go. You've just no idea. And there's a really good story that I like to tell people about that happened to me recently. Last October, before I came to Guernsey, I was walking through my city where I saw a young lady who was homeless. Now I stopped and I asked her to know would it be okay if I bought her something to eat, to which she kindly accepted. I went and I got her something to eat, and when I returned with the food, I asked to know would it be okay if I sat down and spoke to her, which again she kindly accepted. She shared a little of her own story with me, some of her trials and tribulations, and she told me that she felt invisible to the world. She also told me that she had 3 children aged 6, 4, and 2. We talked a lot more about other things, but before I left, I said to her, I said, I've no idea what the future holds for you. I said, but you're a human being of worth. I said, I see your value. I said, you are important, no matter how invisible you feel. I told her that she was. Now, I left her that day thinking I'd never again hear or see of that young lady. I went home that night and I told my 4 children all about the story because I believe it's really important to share it with your children, especially. They told me they were proud of me. 3 of them actually cried at the time when I told them. But as a result of me telling them that story, they told their friends. Now, my own son, Josh, told his best friend, who's pictured here, but his name is Isaac. Now, the following Christmas, Isaac was walking through Cork City with his mother when they saw a young lady who was homeless. Now, Isaac asked his mother to know would it be okay if they bought that lady something to eat or drink. His mother said, of course. So they went approached the young lady and asked her to know would it be okay to buy her a drink or something to eat. Again, she kindly accepted. Now, Isaac asked the lady to know if she had any children, to which she remarked, I have 3 children aged 6, 4, and 2. Now, Isaac asked her to know if Santa Claus would be coming to visit those children that Christmas. And she replied, I'm afraid not. Santa Claus isn't going to be able to find us because we don't have a home. So Isaac and his mother left to get that lady some food. And after they left, Isaac turned to his mother and he asked her to know would it be okay if he spent his pocket money, which he'd been saving for months previously, to buy gifts on that lady's children, because he wanted those children to have the gift of Christmas. His mother said, are you sure? If you're sure, of course. Isaac, he said, yeah, of course I'm sure. I want to do this. So they bought presents for him and returned to the lady and gave her the food. Now, Isaac handed over the gifts to the lady and she just broke down crying. His mother, Imelda, remarked that she'd never in her life experienced gratitude quite like it. She said the lady kissed their hand and thanked them in the most profound way she'd ever experienced. Now, that would never have happened if I hadn't have shared the story with my children, who in turn shared it with their friends. That story went on to make national news. He ended up on the national broadcaster and it was seen by millions of people. And it inspired so many people to do purposeful acts of kindness, not just in my community, but in communities all over the world. So, which brings me to my last core ingredient: be kind to yourself. So it's something a lot of people struggle with. Even me personally, I struggle with it an awful lot. But people need to do more of what makes them happy. This is my son Alex. Picking his nose makes him happy. So it's really important that you do what makes you happy. I fundamentally believe that if people did more of what made them happy, that it would have a massive impact on poverty, on general wellness, and also mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fascinated by what makes people happy. I've probably asked a lot of you in the room about what makes you happy. I always ask everyone who'll speak to me, I say, what makes you happy? I ask my mother what makes her happy. She says, a cup of tea. I asked my dad what makes him happy. He says the son who pays him back the €500 he owes him in 3 years. I asked my wife what makes her happy, and it takes her a while to answer, but when she does, she kind of barks and says, not being woken at 3:30 in the morning, answering stupid questions. So I met a young man in my town recently, and I realized he should have been in school at the time. So I decided to see if I could find out what made him happy. So I approached him and I said, hi, how are you? And he said, hi, John. And I said, why aren't you in school? To which he replied, I couldn't be bothered listening to the teachers. He said, they're wrecking my head. I said, okay. I said, where do you think that's going to get you in life? He said, well, I don't really care. He said, I'm going to join in the army. I said, oh. And he said, yeah. He said, since a young boy, I've always known that I wanted to join the army. So I said, that's great. You know what it is that you want to do? And he said, yeah. He said, I want to shoot people. And I said, have you ever told anyone this? And he said, no. He said, if I told them, they're not going to let me into the army. So I said, what is it about people that makes you want to shoot them? And he said, well, I just want to shoot them. I said, okay, how would you feel if you came home tomorrow and somebody shot a member of your family? To which he replied, oh, I'd go and I'd find them and I'd shoot them. And I said, no. I said, how would you feel? And he said, well, obviously I'd be upset. And I said, yeah. I said, how do you think the person would feel whose family you would shoot? I said, how do you think the family would feel? He said, oh, I wouldn't shoot one of them. And I said, well, everybody's somebody's brother, mother, son, daughter. Everybody's somebody. He said, well, look, to be honest, I said, I kind of want to shoot bad guys. I said, right, bad guys. What is it about bad guys that makes you want to shoot them? And he said, well, he said, they're murdering people. There's so many nasty things going on in the world. There's kidnapping. There's people taking advantage of so many people. There's people destroying lives. There's people who won't feed people who are hungry. There's so many things in the world. He said, I actually get quite angry about it. I said, okay. So yeah, I said, do you know, actually, it doesn't really sound like you want to shoot people. He said, how doesn't it? I said, well, to me, it sounds like you want to save lives. To me, it sounds like you want to be a hero. To me, it sounds like the last thing you want to do is to shoot anyone. And he remarked, his jaw dropped a little bit. He said, it's not about telling anyone I'm a hero. I said, no, it's not about telling anyone. It's the words you're using. I said, if you do what it is you want to do, the last thing you're going to do is to take another human being's life. And he said, do you know what, John? I never thought about it like that. He thanked me and he said, I'm going to return to school now. But before he did, I said, if you really want to be somebody who saves lives and have an impact and to save the sacred human life that it is you want to protect, I said, you need to be kind to yourself with your words, with your actions. Which brings me to the end of my talk. I'm probably going to surprise a couple of people in that I'm going to finish my talk a little bit early. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But before I do, I'd like everybody to take out their phones. When the talk is over, what I want you to do is I want you to tag, text, or tweet 3 people. One of those you must choose in the next few minutes. And I want you to ask them to meet you for a coffee. This can be somebody in your community, an elderly neighbor. It can also be a sister or a brother who lives in the other side of the world, because you can have one virtually. You can have one over the phone, on Skype, or whatever. So I want you to choose 3 people. And I want you to spend that little bit of time telling them about some of the stories that you've heard today, but also asking them, how are they? And to ask them what's going on in their life. Now, I want you to actively listen when you have that conversation. Because when we give the gift of listening to others, it truly is the greatest gift you can give anyone. Now, as Mark Wynn has taught me, that if you really want something, just go for it. So I've actually chosen my 3 people that I'm going to ask to meet me for a coffee. Now, the chances of me being successful are probably quite small, but you never know. The first of those is a gentleman by the name of Niall Breslin. He's a real advocate for mental health in Ireland. He's a celebrity and a singer, among many other things. He's really passionate about mental health in Ireland because we're being devastated with suicide, as many other countries are. So he's the first. The second one of those is the fabulous Ed Sheeran. Now, my daughter had a little bit of a hand in me picking him, but it's also because he's such an amazing human being. I've heard some of the things he's done, and it truly is incredible. And the last of those is one of my goals that I set myself at the very beginning of this movement. Meet a lovely lady by the name of Ellen DeGeneres, as I like to call her. Now, Ellen has such an influence, not just in America, but across the entire world. Now, I want to see if collectively I can get these people to help share the kindness and to share the gift of listening in their communities, because it truly is remarkable what can happen. It won't just inspire people, it can actually save a life. Now, that's a pretty bold statement. Everybody in this room, hands up who's had somebody be mean to them. Hands up who's had someone be kind to them. Being kind to people really is the most incredible gift you can give. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for the kindness of a lot of people, one of which is over there. And I really mean it when I say that it truly has the potential to save a life. I knew it would. Really. So I'm gifting all of you the remaining 1 minute and 43 seconds of my time to text that first person and to see how far that gift of kindness and that gift of listening can go. Thank you all for listening.
Mm. So that was a great story, and pause, share, stop share. Okay, so that was awesome talk, right? And how can we influence kindness. And what he really said at the very end, I so agree with, is being kind to ourselves. I know it's hard. I'm I'm the biggest person or challenge I have to be kind to myself, but I'm learning pretty good. So that's my call to action for you too, to influence somebody else to be kind. And that's going to be what today's show is about. So I want you now to take 5-10 minutes after listening to the show or watching it and call or text people, come meet me for coffee, or can we talk on the phone and just listen? Actually, I was thinking of just doing listening circles because so many people, as you know, love to talk, but can't be bothered to listen. They're so busy in a hurry of talking over you and over your space. So that tells me they're not kind to themselves. So that's my homework assignment for you today. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's a short show, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. So I really encourage you, I'm influencing you to make the phone call to 3 people to just like, Mr. Sweeney says. And he's the founder of the coffee, like pay it forward coffee, buy a couple of coffees so somebody can come in and grab a coffee for free. So I really encourage you to do that. If you have a cafe, start that now, whether you want to join his organization or whether you want to start your own. So I really encourage you to do that. So that's my call to action. And make an impact. Go out and make an impact on somebody else's life. And in return, you're going to get the greatest gift of kindness. Thank you so much for joining me today. And on May 6th, I will have Nadine Hack on my show, and we'll be talking about what's happening with her globally, and maybe we'll sprinkle some kindness in there as well. So take care. Thank you, and thanks for listening and sharing the call. We'll talk. Okay, bye-bye.